be walking through the pre-approval process together. There are 6 steps to get pre-approved for a home loan: intake call, application, documentation, loan officer review, going over options with your loan officer, and then actually starting your house hunt. The intake call. The intake call is the initial conversation you have with your loan officer the very first time you speak to one another. During this conversation, your loan officer is going to be getting a feel for your goals, your motivation, your experience, really trying to get out in front of any questions they may have for you that are going to come up later in the process, and help clarify your expectations and motivation for yourself, so you have a little bit of a better idea of what to expect from the mortgage loan process and what you can expect from your loan officer. We're going to be digging in on your current experience, whether you're living with family, if you're renting, if you own your current home. We're going to get an idea of what kind of income you earn, get an idea of where your funds to close are going to be coming from, and then just kind of getting ahead of any issues with credit that we may be foreseeing, or really just making sure we're on the same page about credit and monthly payment and cash to close before we even have an application in from you. This will really help cut back a lot on the back and forth with your loan officer once your application is in. So it'll make your life a little bit easier and a little bit less hectic as you move through the pre-approval process. Step number 2, filling out your application. So this will typically happen after you've had the intake call with your loan officer. Sometimes it might happen before, or sometimes you might actually fill this out with your loan officer when you are on the phone with them. If you haven't filled out an application yet and you would like to get started while you're working through these videos, feel free to scan the QR code on the screen and walk through the application steps with me as we work through it here. The mortgage loan application is also what we call the 1003, that is the form name. This is where we gather a lot of information about you, your finances, your income, your assets, any real estate you own. Basically, you're going to want to fill this out in full detail. Don't leave anything out. It's going to ask you initially for your full legal name, your social security number, your date of birth, your years of schooling completed. This does not apply or work into your actual qualification at all. It's more of just a reporting piece so they can see, you know, this is how many people who have college degrees purchase homes or finish high school and purchase homes. It's just more of a reporting data point, not an actual qualification milestone. So just a little piece of information for you there. You'll fill out any information about any dependents that you claim on your tax returns, 2 full years of address history, whether you rent or own, and how much you are currently paying in rent if you're renting. It's also going to ask you for the desired purchase price that you're going to be aiming for and the amount that you think you're going to want to put down. We're also going to work into if you have any experience in the U.S. military serving there, you're going to make sure you mark that in the application so we know if you are going to be qualified for a VA loan. You're going to fill out your employment data as well, so we'll need your full employment history from the last 2 years. Make sure you've got all of those names, addresses, and positions handy, along with the approximate dates that you worked for each employer. If you don't remember specifically, that's okay, just put your best guess in there. You're also going to fill out your estimated monthly income. We go by your gross income, not by your net after retirement and taxes and insurance and everything is taken out. We qualify you based on the gross income. You're also going to fill out your current assets. So what you currently have in your bank accounts, 401ks, wherever you're planning to pull funds from for your home purchase, you want to make sure you plug that in there. If you're going to be getting a gift from family, you'll want to plug this in here as well. And then there will be a bunch of yes or no questions, just asking about if you currently own a home or have you owned a home within the last 3 years. Do you have a personal or business relationship with the seller? Are you going to be getting borrowing money for this transaction? Have you had a bankruptcy or foreclosure? Again, just basically gleaning information from you so we know what to be on the lookout for once we are in the process of reviewing your application and getting you pre-approved. At the end of the application, you will give us permission to pull your credit report. This is a super important step in the process. We do have to do a hard credit pull in order to pre-approve you for a mortgage loan. The beautiful thing about getting a mortgage is that they know that you should be shopping for a mortgage. So you have 45 days to have different lenders pull your credit for a mortgage loan, and it will all just act as one credit pull. It's not going to ding you here and there for multiple credit pulls as long as you're within that 45-day window. And again, We cannot do a full pre-approval without a hard credit pull, so don't be afraid of it. It's just a step in the process. All right, step number 3, getting your documents together. So you've already filled out your application, and based on your application, we're going to be able to know in more detail about what documents we're going to need to get from you. We will always need your photo ID so we can verify you are who you say you are and make sure that your legal name is correct as compared to the loan application. It's super important that everything matches. We will want to get documentation for your income and for your assets. Those are the 2 primary types of documentation that we need. Getting your income calculated correctly up front is extremely vital to the process because your debt to income ratio is really one of the biggest deciding factors on how much you can be pre-approved for when it comes to buying a home. So make sure that you provide everything that your loan officer asks for, even if you think, well, why do you need that? We won't ask for it if we don't absolutely need it. So typically, if you are a W-2 employee, we're going to need your most recent month of pay stubs. So if you're paid bi-weekly, we'll need the most recent 2. If you're paid monthly, we'll need the most recent 1. And if you're paid weekly, we'll need the most recent 4 pay stubs. We'll also need your W-2s from the last 2 years. If you worked for multiple different employers, we do need the W-2s from all of them. This will just make sure that we've got your full employment history documented and verified. And allow us to look back over your history, make sure we're not missing anything big. There's no big gaps or big questions that we have about different employers or gaps in that employment. If you are self-employed, we're going to need copies of your tax returns for the most recent 2 years. We will need all pages and schedules, so please don't leave anything out. If you think, oh, that's blank or that's just a schedule of something that doesn't matter, leave it in there. We will need all pages because the underwriter is going to ask for them. We will need bank statements for the last 2 months so that we can verify where your cash to close is coming from. If you are getting a gift for your down payment, we'll walk through what documents we need for that later in the process, and you'll learn more about that later on in these videos. So that is the bulk of the documentation that we need. Again, you want to provide this to your loan officer as quickly as you possibly can. So having this put together and handy before you fill out your application, it can really help speed up the process and make it smoother for you and for your loan officer. Step number 4, loan officer review. This is where I, as your loan officer, am going to pull up your application and really dig in, make sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted, and we have every question answered that we know the underwriter is going to be asking us. So I'm going to be doing your credit pull. I will do a preliminary review of your credit report to look at your scores, look at what positive accounts are reporting, and if there is any negative or derogatory credit reporting, I'm going to take a look at that as well. So we're looking primarily for scores and making sure there's no foreclosures or bankruptcy showing up on your credit report to make sure we are avoiding any potential issues there. I'm going to be calculating your income. So this is where having those documents put together and handy for us really becomes important, because I'm going to be calculating your income. And again, this is one of the most important steps in the process. So you want to give us all the information we can possibly have or possibly need when it comes to calculating your income. I will be reviewing your bank statements to make sure there's no large unexplained deposits and making sure that I understand where your cash to close is going to be coming from, and you understand what we're going to need from you. If you're getting a gift or pulling funds from a 401k, we'll want to just make sure we've got all those little wrinkles ironed out and know exactly what's going on. So what I will do now is, based on your income, based on your credit, and based on your assets, I'm going to be determining the loan product options that are going to be the best fit for you. So I will typically work to find our ceiling pre-approval amount for you, and then we'll work down to where you're actually comfortable and where you're actually wanting to purchase a home, what monthly payment you're looking for, what cash to close you're looking for. We'll work all that in, and I'll make sure that our loan product options we're putting together are in alignment with what your goals, desires, and motivations are. So once I have this all put together, I run our automated underwriting system, or what we call AUS. This is basically just an AI underwriter that makes sure that we're not missing anything big. It does a really overhead, high-level view of your credit report and the risk factors in your loan file. Things like employment history play into this, credit score, debt to income ratio, all that plays into the risk factors that this AUS takes into account. All right, step number 5, going over your options. So this is the fun part. This is where we dig into the nitty-gritty on what you qualify for and what options are available to you. I am really big on just providing different options. I'm not saying, hey, this is the only way we can make this work, unless there's really and truly only one way to make things work, which happens sometimes. I'll give you typically a presentation breaking down the different options available to you and breaking down the monthly payments and cash to close that comes with each of those options. And it'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions, make sure that you understand what you're qualified for and why, so that when you find a home and you're ready to actually get started on the purchase process, there's really nothing that's gonna be a big surprise for you, and you're prepared to take on what the process entails. All right, the last step is the house hunt. This is the most exciting part. You get to go out and start looking for homes. This is where your realtor will step back in and take the reins for you, putting together your search, helping you view the homes, tour the homes, write offers for the homes, and really negotiate and go to bat on your behalf. So this is typically the most fun part in the process. And what I would encourage you to do is make sure you're really clear on what you're looking for and what you're hoping for, and make sure that your agent is in alignment with those hopes, dreams, and motivations as well, because that will just make the process smoother for you, make it a little bit easier if we're all on the same page and our expectations are in alignment. What we'll also do is I want you to reach out to me when you are out there on the house, and if you find a home that you just fall in love with, you know you want to make an offer on, and you just want to see what the payments would look like, what the cash to close would look like, just shoot me that address and I will always be happy to put those payments and cash to close options together for you. Again, we just like you to be prepared for what things will look like once you're under contract, so there are no surprises, and you feel 100% confident submitting that offer. My name is Jessie, and I am a mortgage loan officer. My goal through these videos is to help educate you about the home buying process and answer questions that you didn't even know you had about financing a home.